If a merchant had a physical presence in a store and in a state, they had to collect sales tax. Okay? You all have ordered stuff online, no sales tax applied. That was because the merchant didn't have a nexus with the state and where the goods were going. Okay? As a side note, you as a consumer were still responsible for filing a sales and use tax with the state where the goods ended up, if that state had a sales tax. I don't think I've never met anyone who's filed a sales and use tax. But as a lawyer, I must tell you that's technically what should have happened. Okay, that doesn't happen. But so new regime now, following the Wayfair decision by the Supreme Court, is if the state has an economic nexus, generally defined as sales of $100,000 or more to the state where the consumer that's originating the sales sits, then that merchant must collect sales tax at this point, okay, and remit it to the state where the consumer sits. So much more challenging, but really it's recognizing the internet age, right? Because all these sales are going back and forth. We already see Amazon starting to do this, collecting sales tax. They started doing it voluntarily even before the Supreme Court decision. So one, I mention it because if you operate in different states, you are a business. You may be responsible, depending on how the states define what transactions or services are taxable. You may now be responsible for collecting or paying sales tax based on where your customers sit. The other reason I mention it is states say, hey, that's a great Supreme Court decision. We've got a new test now. We now need to update our sales tax laws to capture this new court decision. Okay? This is a big challenge. Writing sales tax laws is not easy. I'm also a CPA, and I can tell you that it is quickly a cure for insomnia to talk about state taxes. But it must be done, and it's complicated. It can be somewhat fun. But here's the challenge for our industry. As you look out over the landscape, you have two players. You have traditional stores selling widgets, and now you have Amazon, eBay, Etsy, and marketplaces that serve as a clearinghouse. Okay? The state taxing authorities, when they put pen to paper to write their new sales tax laws, go, we really just want to focus on the Amazons and the Etsys and the eBays of the world. They're one-stop shopping. If we just write rules to focus on them, we can probably not waste our time, our enforcement resources, et cetera, dealing with some of these smaller mom-and-pop brick-and-mortar merchants. So they will write sales tax laws that say the following people have to calculate, collect, and remit sales tax. Large big box retailers, say Walmart, just to name one, Target, et cetera, and marketplace facilitators. Okay, makes sense, right? However, when you look at that, one of the definitions of a marketplace facilitator is someone who processes the payment as one of the tests. Well, guess who in our industry processes payments? Payment processors, hey! So we have been going into state taxing authorities saying you really don't mean to pick up the Globes of the world, the FISs, the old WorldPays, et cetera, right? You didn't mean to pick us up because we're just the tubes. We're just the shuttle diplomats moving the transaction back and forth. We have no authority over the transaction. We don't know what the sales tax is. We don't even see that part of the transaction. We don't know. We just see one ticket. Most states say, yes, we don't mean to go after you guys. We're going to carve you out from our definition of marketplace facilitator. Other states are a little more sanguine, like, well, we'll just leave it in for now, and then you can sue us if you really want to work it all out. So, okay, that's full employment for us, right? But not a good way to sort of set policy. But that is an issue that is important when you get down to it because it's 3, 4, 5, 6%, depending on the state that you're in. I'll come back to that in a minute when I talk about Canada. So, next is, as I said earlier, the states are expanding their regulatory, their policy reach, and we see this poignantly in both California and New York. Have proposals to increase the authority of their consumer regulator. It's the DBO in California and the New York Department of Financial Services in New York to expand their authority to make them more CFPB-like. Okay? Give them more authority. Change, expand who they have jurisdiction over. California, for example, if you had a certain type of license, you were under DBO's authority. Under the new proposal is if you do business in California over a certain threshold. So expanding their authority, giving them more enforcement rights, giving them more over our industry as well as other industries is playing out in the two biggest states. expect. I would suspect that other states will follow soon. Once one state has an idea, a lot of them tend to sort of herd along. So think Texas, think Illinois, think Florida. These all sort of come into play. Will come into play as this experiment unfolds on